A lot. Lots and lots.
So when my girls were travelling, going overseas and nationals and stuff, we used to have, they all started with the little plastic toolboxes from Bunnings and stuff. This is way better. You can fit all of this stuff in it, and it's far better when you're travelling. I've still got...
Matches the shoes too.
It does. So I've still got it there. So I've got lacing ties in there. And because I do a lot of coaching, I take that with me when I'm out in the water and I see our kid's missing something or he's broken something, whatever. So to measure the rake, what we're going to do is we're going to stick a tape measure in the top of the mast. And we're going to measure to the back of the boat here. So get a tape measure and put a cable tie on it like this, so that we can hook it into the mast, okay? So it's just a simple cable tie chopped off at the right length, thread it through the right way so that it's running with the...
How simple is that?
Yeah, because if you try and do this without a cable tie on it, it'll come off every time. Okay, so that just helps it to stay in place. So when we're checking the rake, we're going to take the vang off, okay? No tension on the vang. And we don't really want a lot of weight in the sail either, which we haven't got right now. So if there was a bit more wind, I'd make sure that we were pretty much pointing into the wind. We're going to measure down to basically where the tape measure touches the transom of the boat, okay? Where the deck touches the transom. We're just going to push down a little bit just to make sure that the mast is sitting in its aftmost position. And when I measure that now, I'm probably getting, if you guys want to come around and have a look, we're probably getting about 284. Okay, so we're measuring basically about where it touches, about 284 we're getting. Okay, now the range that you should have, or kids should have, is somewhere from about 279 to about 285. Okay, 279 is when the kids are kind of small and lightweight. 284, 285 when the kids are bigger, more experienced, that sort of thing. So the more we push the mast forward, that drags it out to that 285. When we bring the mast back, it pulls it back to that lighter setting, the 279. Most of the middle of the road kids I would set up at about 282. Okay, that's a pretty good all-round measurement. Obviously when the mast goes forward, the boat is more powerful. Okay, but it can also handle if the kids are more skilled and they've got more weight, then they can handle that. Okay. Obviously, like any boat, if we pull the mast back lots, all the boat wants to do is round up. So we've got to be careful that we don't bring it back too far, because the little kids that are learning to sail, they might be 20, 25 kilos. They haven't got a lot of weight to hold the boat down, and if the mast is raked back too far, the boat will just want to round up all the time. They don't sort of, they're not skilled enough to keep it flat. They're sailing with a bit of a heel, the thing just wants to round up all the time. A bit like most boats will do. Alright, so we're on about 284, so that's probably, I don't know what that's been set at. It's probably when Lucy was in her last year of sailing, and that's about what she had it at. So she would have been 50 kilos and sailing the boat in the last year. If we want to move the rake, in fact we can mark this on here actually. I'm going to mark it. If we go, so sometimes when you want to move this, you've got to wriggle this a little to actually get this to spin. Yeah. And then when you're set in the right spot, you can just push it back again and try it. The idea is that it's not supposed to be tight down here. When they actually run downwind, the mast goes forward. You actually want the mast to go forward. So the more we can get a mast forward on any dinghy, going downwind is faster. Yeah. So I've just moved that a bit. That should have increased that. So this will be more than, yeah, so that's now nearly 285 now. Okay, so going, we'll draw it on there actually.
I've got a pen. Learning a bit about your sailing as we go. Learning a bit about your sailing as we go. There's discussion about shape, luff, tensions, all these things.
Always learn something.
Yeah,
right. We draw this on here, it helps the kids out.
Plus is increasing mast rate?
Yeah. No, it's increasing the measurement.
Oh, right, okay, yep,
So if we go, that's plus. So if we turn that way, we're making that measurement bigger. We're going from 284 to 285.
Yep, so
Okay, if we're turning that way. So that's increasing, it's giving us more measurement.
so minus is more rake.
More rate coming back. So we're reducing that measurement. Correct. Right, so that's our rake setting. Right, now we just need to, and we've pretty much set our, we know how to operate our sprit now. All our ties, our vang, our Cunningham or our twist on here. Really now it just comes down to actually sailing the boat. So we've got it pretty much set up. We can feel just a little bit of wind. So we've got this crease here. So that's our little starting to depower crease. If we want to power that just a bit more, I'm going to pull down on this bit. And it might only be sometimes just a centimetre here. We'll actually just fix that sail. Okay.
Did you say that needs shortening? Is that too much?
It's probably okay, but I wouldn't have it. I'd try and just pull up this as much as I could. Like sometimes it just needs retying and redoing. This one's really just a safety strop here.
It shouldn't be taking the load.
No, it should sort of be spread out there with this one taking a little bit of load.
Yeah.
This is pretty important here. This safety clip here is class. You have to have a quick release system. So the little snap shackles like that are the perfect ones for me.
And why has that got the quick release on there? You're saying class requirement?
Yeah, it's a class requirement. Yeah.
What's that for? Just
I guess just
kids getting tangled in there, you can just pull it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And often when we're, sometimes when the kids come into the beach and stuff, they'll actually just release their main sheet.
So the whole thing just...
Yeah, so the whole thing can kind of swing forward and then they can get up the beach or down the beach or whatever. So it's just a easy way to release it. Okay. So I'm just going to set this main sheet. When we're going downwind, when the kids are learning or sort of intermediate sailors, we want the boom to actually be able to go to 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to tie a knot in this so that it stops it at this point. Okay, basically because if they drop the main sheet, it doesn't go any further than what this does. The higher skilled, high performance kids will let the sail go to about 100 degrees, or like 100 degrees at times. So they may not even tie a knot in this, but then they're obviously more skilled. They're not going to drop the main sheet, etc.
What do they go past?
Because sometimes when they're going downwind, they might take off and surf down a wave, and they actually want to release the main ride out and kind of scoot down a wave, and then they come back up and they sheet back on, and so they're kind of working up and down the wave, sheeting on, releasing quite a bit. But that's more the Gold Fleet sailor, the better skilled sailor. So, just to start with, we're going to put a figure of 8 in it here. And then at least what it means is when the kids drop the main sheet, it's only going to go to that far. Okay, so we're pretty much 90 degrees. What else can we... We got any questions so far? You asking a few? Listening?
I think there's a lot of new information here.
Yeah.
Thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
What's the biggest issue the kids have when they start sailing? Like the biggest problem they have with it? Is it oversheeting, undersheeting, retention?
Probably, I mean, making sure we set the boat up right is super important, and I can't sort of say that enough. I suppose the thing when they're learning to sail them, often the kids are quite light and they don't hike out as hard as the more experienced kids. So generally the boat will tip out, like it'll kind of be just sailing along with quite a heel on it. What that means is the boat wants to round up quite a bit. So that, a lot of the skills we teach them is to actually obviously hike out and sail the boat as flat as we can. The flatter we can sail these boats, the faster they are. I've probably got some good videos of some kids doing training where I can just show you, like when I'm sitting behind the boat in the coach boat. Basically, we talk about the mast being quite vertical. This is for the more experienced kids. Okay, but that's basically how flat you need to have the boat. It needs to be super flat, and then what it does is reduce any weather helm. As soon as the boat leans over, it just wants to round up, so you find that the kids are pulling and tugging on the tiller because they're trying to keep the boat tracking along straight. So that's what happens is, if you keep it flat, the boat is way more balanced. So they don't like tipping over on their side. When we're sailing upwind, so I'll just talk a bit, we've kind of set the boat up pretty well. I'll just go through a few things on the boat. Foot straps as short as you can get them is generally better. Okay. What happens is when we have the foot strap too loose, like these are probably okay. When we have the foot strap too loose, and I see some kids here, they're kind of a bit floppy in the boat. They're not connected to the boat, and they actually find it hard to hike out. They don't feel comfortable to hike out. So if the foot strap is a bit firmer in here and lower, then they're a bit more connected to the boat, and then they can really kind of hike out and feel more comfortable about doing that. Obviously the buoyancy bags need to be quite firm before you go out. Okay, like that is about the right sort. That's obviously a bit soft. What you got to remember with these bags is when it's really hot, they'll expand and you can pop them. Okay. So sometimes it's just on a hot day is just let a little bit of air out and just make sure that they're not too. But that one there is pretty good. Just talking about our bailers. So our bailers we tie onto the side here. For the majority of the kids, putting your bailer right there is the right place to put it. Okay, some of the more experienced kids will actually put their bailer in there. Okay, that's only for the more experienced kids. Starting off, I would just have it sitting there. You've got a bailer on each side. That's pretty important to have two bailers.
So why two bailers? Because then double hand the bailing.
The thing with, and the other thing we're teaching the kids is you've got to be able to sail and bail. So they've got to be able to actually sail, okay, holding the tiller extension, holding the main in the same hand. And the technique for bailing is to have the mouth of the bailer pointing forward, hand over the top, and it's, if I'm sitting in the boat, I'm scooping under my legs obviously. Scoop and throw it out. Scoop and throw it out. That's the technique for it. Okay? Try not to get the kids holding the bailers like this because it's not right. The thing with this class, I think, is just teaching them the right technique. If they learn bad habits, it's very hard to get them out of that. So just trying to, when the kids get more experienced, they can be sailing upwind, no problem. They'll do, the experienced kids will do, they'll make sure the boat's obviously in flat, the water's coming across this side. 1, 2, maybe 3 scoops, and then they'll tuck the bailer in and they'll sail the boat again. And it's just trying to keep the boat as dry as possible. Okay. Some kids get to the top mark, their boat's half full of water, and then they spend all the downwind bailing it out, and they're not really concentrating on their sailing. So as they get more experience, it's really training them to try and keep the boat dry all the time. Okay. Keeping your bailer in this section is fine. Tow rope here. You can store this up under here if you want. So just kind of slide it in up there, it just stays in there. Okay. Some of the more experienced kids will actually get their tow rope. And they might do this where they stick it under. And the idea is they're trying to just centralise, they're trying to get really picky with stuff, and they're just trying to keep everything out of the bow, everything out of the stern, and they're trying to keep everything in the middle of the boat. Storing it under here is fine when the kids are getting going. It's got a leak in the end of it. So it's pretty easy to, when we're towing a bunch of Optimists, you can tow as many Optimists as you like. You're basically going to take